Yeah, it has been a long time coming. We got Darren Smith from KOKC, Kansas City, covering the. I mean, how many people you covered over? You covered the Chiefs. You covered the
Chiefs,
Royals.
yeah, the
You
Royals,
covered Kansas
yeah,
Jayhawks, right?
yes, sir.
You doing it all, man. So we gonna get and I think you watched Colorado a few times. You watched Colorado a couple times.
I watched Colorado last 2 years and Jackson State the 2 years before that.
Well, listen, you are well informed out that way. We're gonna have a great time.
I follow the culture, baby. I follow the culture.
So we are going to talk. We're gonna get it in. We're gonna talk some quarterback play. We're gonna talk Kansas City. We're gonna talk what he sees in his training camp. Is Stefanski going really up the ante? It was Camp Cupcake last couple years, Darren. We talked about it on the pod. So we're going to get to that as well. And then we're going to get to some of the rookies that you think and I think they should be playing on a daily basis. We'll come back and do it all right here on this episode of The Barbershop.
Quality, service, atmosphere. You're next in the chair. Feel at home in the barbershop. G. Bush offers a fresh cut on sports. The barbershop isn't just grooming for guys. It's culture, it's lifestyle, it's sports. And it's now the barbershop is giving the sports scene a sheer shave and shine. Join the makeover now. Follow Garrett Bush at GBush91 on Twitter.
Welcome on in to the barbershop. We got a special Memorial Day weekend episode of the barbershop. If you tuning in from Twitter, hello from Twitter. If you're on Facebook, we got you squared away too. We are simulcasting on Facebook. If you are on UCSS's page, we appreciate you. Thank you guys for supporting us, celebrating 3 years. And then if you're in the barbershop, yes, indeed, in the barbershop, we had to bring one of my guys. He got the shirt on. You know, everybody can't just get a shirt. We just don't give them joints out. You got to be family and friends in the building. And we got a great family. You got family and friends in the building. My man, Darren Smith, KOKC, Kansas City, covering the Chiefs. How many times you have been to the Super Bowl, my guy?
What is this? 7, 8 times now? I don't lost track. 7 times in a row for sure. That as long as Patrick's been the starting quarterback, I've not been to each Super Bowl.
Yes. So
thank you, Patrick.
You listen, this guy, man, he always rubs it in. He always texts me, talk about, let me see my suit I got on. Yeah, man, I'm gonna wear this one. How many times you change it, man? I'm like, come on, bro, you can't have the same fit. You got 35 fits on. It's only 24 hours in a day, man.
Hey, man, look, first of all, I want people to know I invited G. Bush to come down the Radio Row with me this past year, but he did. There's some health issues that kept him from coming. So G. Bush was going to be on Radio Row with me, down in New Orleans, but God said otherwise. But next year in San Francisco, we never know.
We got it. We that is going to happen before we up out of here. That will happen. Darren came down for the Kansas City game. Was it last year? Yeah, he was down here last year.
December.
Yep, he was down there. We had a good time. Darren, I got the thumbnail says. The thumbnail says. We're going to talk about the stuff other things besides the quarterback battle, but I think it's only right that I give you an opportunity to opine on it. Obviously, you're one of the guys who are out that way, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be trying to tell people, listen, it is in the culture. We watched all the games. Before we thought Shadur was getting picked by the Browns, we watched Coach Prime. My dad went to HBCU, so we watched every single game there. We watched all the games at Jackson State. And obviously you've seen him, a while. Give me your take on, first of all, because we talked about it offline, you're surprised that, they traded down with Travis Hunter, because it's the first time I talked to you since the draft. And then from there, what were your thoughts on just watching and your original thoughts on Shadur watching him in college?
Well, first things first, thank you so much for having me on once again, and glad to be on with you and your viewers, your listeners, our OTC family and friends. Look, and me being an HBCU graduate myself from Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri, class of 2000. I done gave my age away, but look, I'm being honored by him next week, so I'm pretty happy about
Congratulations,
that.
by the way. I saw that online. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, for me, Dion, Dion did it the right way, because he wanted to be the head coach of Florida State. They didn't, for what he did, and I guess they doubted. They doubt he could coach at that level. They passed him up. Jackson State gave him an opportunity. He went down, took it, ran with it. During that time, he took Travis Hunter away from Florida State, who followed him along with his sons to Jackson State. They did, they won their conference 2 years in a row. Went from there, went to Colorado, and changed that program around. And just by what he was doing with the HBCUs, brought a lot of buzz, brought a lot of societal impact and economic development, along with a lot of eyeballs to HBCU football that may not have been there for a number of years. Not to say because HBCU football had always been around, but just at the level that he was able to do. To bring the awareness and the eyes and the TV networks and stuff like that, hit a little bit differently. Then, of course, bouncing to Colorado, and what he did with that, just the economic development. I mean, he brought over $30 million worth just of revenue just by his arrival and his players' arrivals there. So, the one thing that I would always say when it came to Shadur was that he had the same advantages that Peyton Manning and Eli Manning had with their father being a former star player in the NFL. Dion to a higher level, of course, being a Hall of Fame, and just the era that we're in right now. He had access to Tom Brady, where Tom Brady is able to mentor him one-on-one. I mean, that's something that a lot of people cannot have. And so when and it wasn't like it was just a one-off. I mean, he had a relationship, and with Dion being at the NFL Network, he had access to to that time with all the great players. And it just being the son of Dion, he's always had access to those players and the guidance and the mentorship. And so the fact that when people would question his football acumen, his IQ, his arm strength, I always just took it as cool as what people say about Angel Reese and Caden Clark, that they just hate. I mean, because you can't have that type of access throughout all these years and you're not picking up anything. And the thing is, people have said that he's always been the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft because of who his father is. I mean, his father's a defensive player. He's a quarterback. So are you mean to tell me that all the years that he's been coaching, his father's coaching, that he ain't teach him how to read a defense?
Right. He's not telling them what the defense is trying to do to get him off his point.
Yeah, and the offensive coordinators that he had while he was at Colorado along with Jackson State. I mean, he was around NFL coordinators and stuff. So I'm not sure what narrative they were trying to put out there about Shadur. Whether or not because money was never going to be an issue for him because of who his father is, and so I was disappointed in the fact that he dropped. I thought that that if you wasn't gonna take Shadur at number 2, you get Travis Hunter. And then, depending on if he fell to you or not, you take him at 33. That way you could have had both. You could have put, Travis next to Jerry Jeudy along with Deontay Johnson, along with Cedric Tillman, and your offense would be secure. Even if you still had Joe Flacco along with Kenny Pickett there, you at least have a good sounding offensive makeup that you would have. And of course, we knew that they would end up getting a running back, and I do like the fact that they got Kushan Jenkins as well. So overall, I'm disappointed. We'll see what Mason Graham does at that number 5 position, and we'll see what the other players will do. But I'm looking forward to see how this camp works. And I know the question here in the lower third: how did the Chiefs handle Patrick Mahomes as a rookie. Well, they knew once they drafted him that he wasn't going to start. I mean, they told us that on draft night that Patrick was a project, which, and
I've always, the wild part about that is, and I'll say this, Darren, when you go back and watch the tape on Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech. Now, a lot of people is going to be over here looking around. Oh my gosh, you're comparing Shadur Sanders to Patrick Mahomes. We are not doing that. What we are doing is we're talking about what happens when you come into the league in the best way to get to a process that you can come in well acclimated. Obviously, it's a different situation, different circumstances, different games. But there is some things to be learned from the way that they did things in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, because they thought he was one of the wild cards, or a guy that was a project, as you so speak. How did they handle and develop that?
I'm gonna tell you that right quick, but shout out to Tyvis Powell, because I see he's in the comments section, and just more times to know that I told you, Bush, that the three of us need to be on. So
remember, he did say that. We were just talking about you, Tyvis. I told him you got 16 jobs now.
Yeah, he did. So to go back to your question about Patrick. So again, because they already knew that he wasn't gonna start his rookie year, because we had Alex Smith, and so Alex Smith had really done nothing to warrant losing his starting position. So he was basically the future. But see, Alex Smith is a different type of quarterback than some of these others, than an Andy Dalton or Joe Flacco or Ben Roethlisberger, who have been on the record to say that they were not someone who wanted to mentor, saying the next quarterback to follow, because they didn't, they felt like they could keep their position for another 2-3 years. Alex Smith knew what time it was. The Chiefs were letting them play out. Essentially, that contract was going to trade him to a team the following year. So he understood what the situation was, because he knew that there was only so far that he could lead Kansas City. And to be quite honest, it was, a lot of the players his rookie year wanted Patrick to be the starter, wanted him to come in because of what he was doing in practice. But Andy Reid knew what he wanted. He wanted Patrick Mahomes to just learn from a veteran, learn how the NFL goes, learn how to study film, learn how to, the tricks of the trade when it comes to being a quarterback in the NFL, and learn from someone like an Alex Smith. And Alex Smith, to his credit, I wasn't real impressed with him as a player, but as a person, as a man, he was great for Patrick Mahomes. And so they had something in place. And Matt Nagy at that time was Mahomes' offensive coordinator as a rookie, but Alex Smith was the starting quarterback. He tried to do the same thing that Andy Reid did when he was in Chicago, when they drafted Justin Fields and had Andy Dalton. But again, you had a quarterback who wasn't feeling that type of thing, because he felt like he could still be a starter. So that's why it wasn't as successful in Chicago with Matt Nagy while he was there, while he was in Kansas City.
You mentioned a couple of things there. There was last week. Kevin Stefanski was making his media rounds, and he was talking about Shadur Sanders. I think a couple of things that he stood out as we talk about what is going to play out in the training camps and some of the things you might see in the battle. He talked about that he loves the fact that those guys are in there early working. They got to come by his office all the time, right downstairs. I compared it to being a parent. When you come in a little bit too late, and that door open, you be like, dog.
You come in later than you supposed. Hey man, I know.
You be looking around, you be like, dang, I thought y'all was asleep. That light be on. You be like, man, I'm gonna have to hear this. But he's been doing those things. And one of the things I talk about as well too is, Shadur is a dude who. Yes, we've worn out the fact that he is a 5th round pick, right? We've worn that out. I mean, it's crazy around here that it keeps getting brought up. However, when you talk about what his skill set is, skill set is not 5th round. And when you look at the way they get an opportunity, if they give him an opportunity during the OTAs and he earns those reps, How do you see it playing out in terms of who plays which games in the preseason? Because there are 3 preseason games. You got 4 quarterbacks. What does the roadmap look like, kind of, if you're Shadur, you're Dylan Gabriel, you're Kenny Pickett, you're Joe Flacco? How do you think these reps are split up depending on that in the games that you're going to play in the preseason?
Well, from the reports that I read, and it could have came from Mary Kay, could have came from someone else, but it looks like they're going to have Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett splitting units on one side, and you got Shadur and Flacco on the other side, and they're going to be exchanging reps, I guess, going with the first and second teams each day. When it comes to the preseason game, if they haven't traded one of the veteran quarterbacks, I see each player getting a quarter apiece, and then the second and third game, you might have one of the veterans play the first quarter, and you might split up the other 2 rookies in the last game. And then depending on, again, it just depends on if they do it. I can see it where they just give the rookies the half, Gil and David maybe start the second preseason game, Shadur playing the second half, and then vice versa the other way around. What I will say is that how I look at it in the practices, it's kind of hard because you don't know how Kevin Stefanski is going to split it up. But if you look at but if you look at the excitement level from a lot of the veterans when they drafted Shadur versus how they how people want to compare it, and it's just the world we live in. They didn't have that type of excitement for Joe Flacco signing, for Kenny Pickett signing, for Gil and Gabriel being drafted, but we saw who was it? We saw your tight end. We saw Newsome. We saw Njoku. Yeah, these brothers can't wait for Shadur to get out there. So I think the veterans are going to have a little bit more. They're going to pick up a little bit. I think their practice is going to pick up a little bit when Shadur is in there because they're going to want to make him look good. And so now Shadur can do that himself by his play. But I think, but I think the veterans who are there along with the rookies who are going to be, in that playing for with them, are going to do all they can because obviously, especially if you're on the same team, a scout team or fourth team that Shadur is on, if you're making him look good, he's going to obviously help you make you look good, and you can in turn earn your place on the 53-man roster. So. I think Shadur's going to have a pretty good training camp. Now, what's crazy is, we'll see how often they say, his ball hits the ground versus somebody else's, or we'll see the type of stats that are going to be taking place during training camp and OTA for Shadur. That has never happened for anybody else, not even Deshaun Watson when he was there.
Listen, we had a whole conversation about stats. These stats, boy. That's why I told her, I said, listen, hey, UCSS, y'all got to put me in the building. I listen, one of these weeks, I'm going to have to see for myself. I can't be, I'm not saying that the stats is crazy, but some of the stats was crazy in the rookie mini camps. We don't need to say no names. I already know what it is. We know what type of time we on. But I will say this too. And here's the thing. I want to drill down on this before we get to a couple of other things, because I don't think people realize this. Me and you, the reason I like talking to you is we don't hold no punches, man. Like, we're not going to play around with you. And like, at the end of the day, we believe in what we see on the field. Listen, there was a point in time where we was like, listen, we felt like Deshaun Watson was going to come in here and do some things. And then when the tape got looking a certain way, we was on the text messages like, hey, what's going on here? What we doing? What are we doing here? And the reality of it is, Dion Sanders is going to have to earn whatever he get. I can sit here and you can sit over there wherever you
wouldn't have it any other way.
Steel sharpens steel. Where we come from, that's what we believe in. We believe in you going to have to earn everything they give you, and you better be ready for smoke at all times. And so when people is trying to, why are you guys so excited? And you guys are just trying to put them in the Hall of Fame and be like, bro, you have no clue. If Dylan Gabriel come out here cooking, we're going to be like, dang, that look, Dylan Gabriel in the left hand, he's out here throwing the heck out of the football. If Flacco turned back to times, heck, listen, a couple years we saw what was going on. Even Kenny Pickett. I think there's a misconception that just because you have an excitement level about a person is that you can't be objective about saying what the person needs to work on or what the reality of the situation is on the field.
Look, first of all, it's fair to have that excitement. I remember, it might have been a couple of weeks ago. I think when the Browns had their rookie mini camp, I was on the Twitter Spaces with the OTC fam.
Shout out to them too.
Hell yeah, and look, and I told him, I said, it's fair to be excited about it because that's how Chiefs fans were when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Now, I got a chance to be in practice every day during his rookie season, so I knew what to expect. When he finally got out there, last game of the rookie year against Denver, and then taking off to be the MVP his first full year as a starter, his second year. However, the thing is, you don't want anybody to try to dampen your excitement because, again, if you watch football, if you follow football, and you just don't go with people's narrative and use your own eyes, because your eyes can't lie to you, they shouldn't lie to you. You saw all the things that he was able to do when he was in college. And when people say he doesn't have a strong arm, I'm sitting thinking, like, which games were you all watching? Look, I remember, I remember being, I was in Germany 2 years ago when Colorado played a night game. I didn't get to sleep till like 2:30 in the doggone morning because of what time the game started. No, the game started at 2:30 in the morning when I was in London. When I was in Frankfurt, Germany, when the Chiefs played over there, and the game didn't end to darn near 6 o'clock in the morning. But watching the game, how that game went into overtime against, I can't remember which team it was, but even last year, the man threw across his body to the back of the end zone to one of his receivers. I don't know if it was Jimmy Horn or whoever, in the back of the receiver, the accuracy and the strength that it to do that on the run, it amazes me. Thank you, the Colorado State game. It just amazes me how people can hate on this young man. Again, if I'm in Cleveland, I'm excited about having Shadur because I know what to expect if and when he gets his opportunity. And people keep forgetting he did not have a good offensive line. Now, I would like to think that as bad as Colorado's line is, I'd like to think that he has an upgrade of an offensive line with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, because look, there were many years where the Browns had the top 5 offensive line. Whether it's that whether it's like that any longer, because Joe Thompson there will remains to be seen. But if you can protect this man, give him a run again, which you got with Jenkins now, and I mean, and he has some good wide receivers and Deontay Johnson. I know Deontay's a little crazy up top, but a little bit crazy, what I'm saying. But here's the thing: we know what Jerry Jeudy can do because of what he did last year. If he can elevate Cedric Tillman's play again, the accuracy is everything, man. The accuracy and the lack of turnovers and stuff like that, bro. I tell people, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure. I tell people, don't try to put the onus on Shadur Sanders. It's not going to be. It needs to be up to your 2-time NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski. To me, a lot of people have been giving him just like a pass. Like, okay, because you got you got the trade and you got Deshaun Watson. No. If you're supposed to be that dude, like Patrick Mahomes is who he is because of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy and this offensive staff. Well, people don't put everything on Shadur Sanders. No, you got 2-time coach here. His ass need to be coaching. This is the one thing that our guy Jason Lloyd, he and I disagree with vehemently. I can't do this whole we need to lose and figure out who's going to be the quarterback in 20. I know what it's like. Now, I don't know what an 0-16, 1-15 season is like you all do, but we had a 2-14 year. I was here. I was covering the team. I was taking pictures. I was down on the field when the Chiefs had a linebacker named Javon Belcher that took his life, took his daughter's life, and took his girlfriend's life in a parking lot not far from the stadium. And then the Chiefs had to play the very next day against the Green Bay Packers, who were undefeated, and the Chiefs knocked them off. I think that was week 13, week 14 of the season that year. I think it's 2012, 2013 or something like that. So, so I've been through highs and lows when it comes to covering the Kansas City Chiefs. So when I say that you can have the excitement of Shadur Sanders, you can. But it's going to fall down. Kevin Stefanski, from a Cleveland from a Cleveland Browns fan point of view, should not be escape any type of criticism, because you need to put this kid, if he earns his spot to be the starting quarterback, you need to be putting him in a strong situation to try to win football games.
Listen, and look, this is why I do this, people. I don't just sit up here and preach to y'all, man. Listen, I like to bring people on. See, you can say, G. Bush, you don't know what you're talking about. How you know? I'm going to bring somebody that got an opportunity to see Patrick Mahomes every day at practice. He watched Andy Reid at the Super Bowl, so he knows a thing or two about offensive football, what it's supposed to look like, and how we get down and how they're supposed to move. But with that being said, this is a perfect segue into what we want to get into. Let's talk about this. We talked about the training camp, right? We talked about the training camp, and last year it was nasty work. It was nasty work. People was, listen. I remember they talking about the offensive line. And guys, I was like, I haven't seen Jack Conklin, and we still ain't seen Jed Wills. Have not seen him, period. Guys were not playing. It seemed like, people was just, nobody had to practice. People was on the side. It was Camp Cupcake, man. They was going out to the Greenbrier. I'm like, this is wild. And then here's the crazy thing about it. These dudes try to really sell me on that camaraderie in the Greenbrier. You can't do nothing. Camaraderie is not gonna get you off a block. Camaraderie is not gonna tackle nobody for you. Talk about, we got all the good feelings. I said, bro, this about all them years they went out there to that golf course in West Virginia and done nothing. Right now, all of a sudden, I Kevin Stefanski's is doing it about face. He said, I think it was on ESPN Cleveland. They asked him, competition with the quarterbacks and people, is it really a competition with 4 quarterbacks? He said, listen, if you are on the Cleveland Browns, you are competing for a position somewhere on the field. All of them, everybody. I said, oh, we done switched it up, Darren. What happened?
I think it's Cap, that's just my opinion.
It's Cap. Remember what you said, because you came on. I think the last time you were on, you said this, and I never forget it. He said, I don't know why y'all hold your players out. Y'all don't got players like we got in Kansas City, and we go to the Super Bowl every year, and we play all preseason games. Tell us about how much Patrick Mahomes be playing in the preseason. Who is they saving? Y'all don't save nobody.
And man, Patrick, look, we have players that they want to play in the preseason. Now, Patrick knows he's not going to get hit in practice. So he wants to play in preseason because he has to train his body to get hit and how to fall and stuff. So you can only do that during if you literally wait to week 1 of the season, that's where you get hurt. And look, we talked about it last year, because I remember being on with you. It baffled me to no end why Deshaun and them did not get any preseason work. Yeah, and so again, look, man, people can say I'm biased in Kansas City. Look, but I know what works, because they were doing this before even Patrick got here. So it's not like it's just something that Andy just started recently. But their practices, well, first of all, their training camp is held at a small college in St. Joseph, Missouri, which is about 45 miles from where I'm at. And so they live in the dorms. Ain't no king size plush beds. They sleep on the same mattresses and stuff that the college students sleeping on. Now they can bring their TVs and their gaming system and stuff like that, but they have the college atmosphere, and they do everything early morning, midday. Now they have the one practice that we go out and cover, but they're up from sun up to sundown, saying the meetings and stuff like that. So and they eat together. I mean, they eat the college food. Now they eat some good food. Now we'll say that they feed them well. I'll give them that. But it's but that's how they're building things, and then all the practices are kind of themed around certain military and season ticket holders. So I mean, just what they've been doing has been working, and the fact that they practice so hard against, and his practices are tough. And so by the time you get, you have 3-4 weeks of this of these practices, you're ready to go against somebody else. Because trust me, when we have like the first preseason game, you get to talk to the players the week of. The only thing they can think about is going up against somebody else, because they're tired of going up against their teammates, and they want to hit somebody. That, now granted, you're not going to run any complex offense or defense in those games, but they're just ready to compete, to get to see what they can do against the other teams and stuff. And so they can go 0-3, 3-0 in the preseason. They don't care. They just want to get those live reps in. So when opening night or this year, we'll be going down to Brazil. It's just one of those things where they're just ready. They're ready to put all of what they do into action. And the fact that their training camp is not like what the Browns was last year at Club Med or whatever, or Club Fed, or whatever you want to call it. It's not like that. Like, they get after it.
And as well you should. We got a super chat coming in here. R-Mac Dog, we appreciate you, sir. Hey, G. Bush, keep calling out the media for them false narratives about the Browns quarterback room. Do you think that Flacco will start the season, trade Pickett, and after the break, let the rookies cook 9-7? Now, I think you got to be 9-7, or got to be 9-8, or 8-9, 17 games. But I will say this, because obviously you're at practice, like you said, you're covering some of these practices when they're letting guys in, and have you ever had a situation where you might have other beat reporters that, because you're covering on the beat, and you have other people who see other things that you might have not saw, like you got conflicting. I mean, I know the Chiefs is good. But have you had conflicting information where so you see a column, you're like, whoa, I was there. I didn't quite see that thing that you saw.
Well, here's the thing. They know somebody like me would call them out on their BS, and normally I would say I would give the full thing, but I don't want your video being tagged. But look, it's one thing to have different variants of opinions about something, but what I will say is that they will not stretch the truth for their own shockwaves or clickbaits or whatever, because again, the stuff that comes out a lot of times is from people who actually who aren't out there, people who might do podcasts, and there are some radio and other folk who do talk about the Chiefs who were never there. Now some may come for the press conference, but they're not at the practices, because it could be a time during when their practice or when the show was on, and on the weekends they don't like to come out and cover it. They like to watch from their crib, which is fine. I mean, to each his own. I'm someone who likes to be there hands on, because I don't want anybody trying to pee on my leg and tell me that it's raining. I'd rather go out there and see, because I'll be the first to say, and people know, I'll call out Matt Nagy. Look, I like Matt Nagy. There's times on the road after the game it'd be a tough win and a tough loss, and we look at each other. We can like speak via just eye contact, like, man, we escaped with one. But there are times, because I had this argument over the weekend. Like, I think that this is to me, one of the main reasons why Kansas City lost that Super Bowl, and it's hard for me to even think about it, seeing it from the 50-yard line, just to belt the ass that took place in that game. But two things: the Chiefs didn't even attempt to run the football when they first got the possession. But then they were so, to me, in my opinion, they were so enamored on trying to make the narrative about Patrick Mahomes being the greatest and the three-piece stuff like that, and making him look good, that they just kind of forgot about what helped them get there. And it was the combination of Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, along with the offensive line, and I know they had issues with the left tackle, but the last thing you want to be doing is trying to throw on every down against that pass rush that has been dominating. So with them not running the football, I think it was some coaching malpractice. And I'm one of the few people who will call it out about that. I like them. Don't get me wrong. I want them to win. I talked to Andy Reid in the locker room after the Super Bowl. Say, hey, it is what it is. Great season. Come back next year. Shook hands and went on about our merry ways. But
part two of this question. He says, Do you think Flacco will start the season? Will they trade Pickett after the break, let the rookies cook? What's your thoughts on, it's been some conflicting reports. A lot of people thought when Joe Flacco was brought in, he would have as I thought, I didn't see Flacco play. He's done some stuff here. I thought he would have the first bite at the apple. But, some of the beat reporters, Mary Kay, Jason Lloyd, some of the other guys, they feel like Kenny Pickett is going to get the look. Now, look, I don't see it. I don't see it with Pickett, but obviously you got an opportunity to see what he's going to do. But, what are your thoughts on who will start the season for the Super Chat?
Man, I ain't trying to take no shots at nobody, man. But but y'all local media don't know what winners look like. So I'm gonna leave that at that. So, that could be a bar if you want. But
hey, listen, I'm just saying, man. For me, I was confused by it. I always said this before, and I'll continue to say it. I try to be fair about the situation, but look, the thought process is, and we did this little exercise. The thing about me is, I don't eat birthday cake with nobody. I'm not trying to go to the cookouts. I'm not going to the bar mitzvahs. I'm not in the back room hanging out. I'm not texting nobody. So for me, I just bring it like I bring it. I'm like, if Shadur Sanders is a 5th round pick, well, then Kenny Pickett got traded for a 5th round pick. Wow. It's the same thing. I feel like it's the same. It's the same situation. For me, I look at this, and I've been clear about this. I felt that Shadur was good enough to go in round 2. I felt Shadur was good enough to go at 33, definitely. Once he didn't go in those first 2 rounds, it was a lot of people hot. A lot of people was hot. Well, I'm like, so you meaning to tell me we didn't get Travis Hunter and we didn't get Shadur? Catch was hot. But once you got him in the 5th round, Darren, I said, oh, all bets are off. We got him in the let's cook. Let's roll now. We can see what we got. And I will say this. If he turned, and people all around agree with this, if you get a quarterback in the 5th round and you paying him rookie scale money and he's a ball player, come on, man.
I mean, that was Dak Prescott. When they drafted him in the 4th round, the Cowboys drafted him in the 4th round, and he came in against the Rams his rookie year in preseason after old boy got hurt, and he balled out and never saw the bench again. See, here's my thing, man. I listen to people who actually play the game. When Drew Bledsoe and Kurt Warner are telling me that this is the 5th round. I mean, this is the 1st round guy. The 1st round grades. But you hear all these other people who it's funny because I've noticed Twitter is a land of general managers and financial advisors, lawyers, and doctors and stuff like that. So,
you people get mad
at, people get mad at me. I'm like, man, why don't y'all let Brett Veach do his job instead of y'all thinking that y'all can come up with these trades and salary cap? I'm like, there's a reason why the Chiefs are paying him and not you. If it were me, if it's a fair competition and oh boy, Shadur is the best, and I let him start. Otherwise, but coming in, I thought that it would be Joe Flacco based off of him already knowing Kevin Stefanski's offense and play well, led him to a playoff appearance. So I thought it would be him first, Pickett second, and then Dylan and Shadur just based off of the draft. But if it's a true battle, again, you have to make sure that if you're going to give Shadur the opportunity, he needs to be playing with the ones as well. So to see what he's able to do, see the command of the offense and anything like that. So, but if I'm starting the season just from like right now today, I would go with Joe Flacco just because of the experience and what he's done in Kevin Stefanski's offense. And then but again, depending on OTA'S and training camp and stuff goes, and to me, I mean, I'm a Shadur guy. It's not even, I'm not even gonna try to make it seem like I'm not. And to be honest, just like this guy said, the Saints should have drafted Shadur at number 9. Especially knowing your situation with that quarterback.
Derek Carr said the same thing.
Yeah, so, but I'm not, but hey, but whatever.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying. I will say this. Hey,
hold on. And one thing and look, Kevin Stefanski, if nothing else, he's not a dumb person. He's not a dumb man. Now, I might disagree with his coach philosophy and how he coaches. I don't know if he's technically two-time coach of the year, but he's not dumb. He knows what they have in Shadur, and he's watched a lot of tape. So trust and believe he will do right, because one, whether people want to say it's the owner's pick or they made him do it, you got him in the building, and you got a first round talent in the 5th round. And another reason I think they took him, because you don't have to pay him $40 million. You only paying him $4 million. So you can still put great talent around them, and literally their quarterback room costs probably a third of what you paying Deshaun Watson this year. So
and a lot of people don't realize Deshaun Watson's cap hit, I think, is 80-something million, 90-something million. He's gonna be on the roster
this year.
He's gonna be on the roster.
He's going to be there his 5 years. Now his salary cap stuff that still goes on after he leaves, but he's staying these next 2 years. He's not getting cut, and nobody's going to trade for him. But I will say this: I don't. I am curious, and I'll ask you this, whether or not they're actually going to put him on the PUP to make him eligible to come back to play this year. Because if he's doing all the rehab or whatever, I think it could be a battle with the Players Association on putting him on the pup.
So here's
give him a chance to come back and play this season.
Here's the way I look at it. Here's the way I look at that situation, and I think it's like this. I think Deshaun Watson, he's behind the 8 ball so much in terms of what his perception is around the league. I think what he's doing is very smart. He's in the room. He's helping. Kevin Stefanski talked about him being in the room. And by the way, say what you want about his play on the field. He's one of the brightest individuals in
he's a good teammate.
When it comes to putting it on the whiteboard and knowing what you're looking at, he does that at a very high level. So, and my dad always told me, man, you can learn something from anybody. He's a veteran, and I like the fact that they talk about those other 2 kids, and I always say kids, they're young men, Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders. They just back there soaking it up. Just guys are showing them, they just soaking it up. And for me, I think with Deshaun Watson and showing, hey, look, some of the stuff that is out there about me, I could be a good teammate. Listen, y'all want to restructure my deal? I ain't got no problem with it. If y'all want to kick the can down the road, I ain't got a problem. I think
he's gonna get the money.
He's gonna get the money regardless. And I think at this point in his career, even Shadur kind of said it, like, hey, it's not about the money at this point. It's the opportunity. I don't think people understand when you play football that long, and from being in locker rooms, right? It is something special about the game of football and the level of camaraderie that you have in the building blocks with those people in the locker room. The only thing that I wake up in the middle of the night and get chills, and I'm looking around, I'm like, man, I get dreams of still playing. Like, just it don't gotta be no big crowd. It could be just me practicing, or me in the locker room hanging with the fellas, or me talking and shooting the breeze, and then they're laughing and joking. Those are the things as young men you don't realize that to you, that's the highest point you ever gonna get. That level, that's crazy to me.
Hey man, dude, it's funny you talk about that, because sometimes when we go in during the season, you got the D-line, the defensive backs down here, and from time to time you'll catch them playing cards or whatever. There's times when the Chiefs PR, they're way on the other side of the locker room, and I'm not gonna say which group this is, but they be back there shooting dice. They know that's my game, so I go back there and see what they hit for. I try to get a couple rolls in right.
Let me in here. Let me in, right?
Hey man, so that type of stuff is very much important, man. And you see it. And the thing is, when you talk about Shadur in this fall, Shadur, I can't remember where he said it on, but Shadur said, like, since the first year, he's made $24 million. I mean, so for him, he, okay, cool. Yeah. Now look, it would have been great to have a $40 million, $40 million guaranteed deal still $40 million of what you made, but, but he's not hurting. I mean, he's not. So his thing is, okay, cool. the situation is what it is. Even the video that popped up last week with him and Roger Goodell talking about, I'm worried about your dad. He asked Goodell, like, what are you worried about my dad for? We good.
I did a whole segment on here, like, why are people they are so spooked to Coach Prime. And I'm like, listen, Prime is not worried about y'all. He got a multi-million-dollar deal.
Dion did his job. He raised those kids. He put them in a situation where they can make their own money. Look, one kid got drafted, the other one got signed as a rookie free agent. They both gonna be making their money. So I mean, their father leave money for them in the will or whatever. They'll be just fine. Saying they get an opportunity now to just perfect their craft and try to help the organizations win that they're a part of.
Well, listen, we got a lot of other rookies besides Shadur Sanders. Let's get to them, because I think there are some rookies that I think they got to play. Now, here's the thing: we be talking about it all the time. Here's what I don't like. I don't like when coaches be mixing in these Minimowski veterans, trying to play the veteran game. And good and well, he not really better than this dude. And if you're going to take a person at that high of a pick, and I'm talking about Mason Graham, I like his tape, by the way. I was still mad that they didn't take Travis Hunter, but a lot of people was, right? They came back, they did. For the most part, I like what they did in the draft, right? You got Mason Graham. You got Mike Hall Jr. You took out Ohio State. You got two guys that's from the Big Ten in the middle of your line. They went out. Myles Garrett is back, right? For me, I don't want to see Shelby Harris. I don't want to see look, if you the fifth pick, 5, we're not going to play this rotate in slowly game. I think that mix in, this is not a cake batter. I'm not folding Graham in there like I'm making some sort of pastry. I need him to be at 5, you got to be a player. You have to. And for me, I would rather get these dudes, because here's the way I look at it. I looked at it from a perspective. Mason Graham should be a starter. Schlesinger in the second round from UCLA, with JOK already being outruled for the season, that's a starter. Quinshawn Junkins, he's a starter. I think Dylan Sampson, I like him better right now, today, more than Twinkle Toes. I don't. Jerome Ford, Twinkle Toes, no. Harold Fannin Jr. should be working in immediately with David Njoku with them 2 tight end sets. Is there a philosophy? Here's what I like about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Go for it, I was just about to say it. So
y'all find somebody, y'all took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then all of a sudden Pacheco came out of somewhere, and they was like, no, we're going to be playing Pacheco. Y'all find these dudes off the street, wherever you get them, and they just play. I want some of them players too. I want my rookies to be shining like that.
Well, okay, so we got a lot to unpack when it comes to that. Which rookies do I expect to start? I expect both their first and second round, Graham and Schlesinger, to start. I do expect Quinshawn Junkins to start as well. Depending if David Njoku is healthy, I expect him to start. And then when you run the 2 tight end set, I expect to see a lot of Fannin. Again, to me, it depends on the organization. If you're bad and you're drafting these rookies, you're drafting high and you get high picks for a reason, because you're bad. So you hope that you can hit on these picks so they can help turn your organization around. The difference in what Kansas City does is because obviously, they've been drafting at the bottom of the draft the last 6, 7, 8 years. Comes from scouting. But the other thing that the Chiefs do that, again, a lot of teams don't do, I've seen literally day one, and this is what happened with Isaiah Pacheco. Day one of training camp, Isaiah Pacheco is a 7th round draft pick. The Chiefs are mixing their draft picks in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in with the veterans right off the back, whether it's first team, second team, they're getting them reps right away. And they're mixing them in during training camp and especially during preseason. They're starting with these players in preseason. Why did they do that? One, because of Mahomes and some of these other players on high salaries. You've got to get the maximum value out of these players that you're drafting right away on their rookie deal. So you'll know right away whether or not they're players or whether or not you need to move on from them. Because they've had some players like a Cornell Powell that never really panned out that I always stayed on the practice squad. But you've had like Trey Smith. Trey Smith was a 5th round draft pick. Now he was a 5th round draft pick because of health reasons, but he came in, he and Creed Humphreys from Oklahoma. He was a 2nd round draft pick. They came in on the start. They came in starting day 1 of training camp on the offensive line after the Chiefs got decimated in Tampa Bay at the Super Bowl. So what the Chiefs do, they draft their players, and it doesn't matter which round you get drafted in. They figure out a way to mix you in with the veterans on the 1st, 2nd team or whatever. You'll get your reps and you'll get your chance to perform. And again, they play them in the preseason, so you're getting a lot of live reps. So what happens is by you getting all those reps with the starters, if say week 1, week 2, a la a couple of years ago when the Chiefs took on the Los Angeles Chargers on Amazon, you had a rookie with the bright lights making big plays. You also had a who wasn't even the starter. What's his name? Watson. It was a wide receiver. I don't know why I'm getting amnesia all of a sudden, but he had a touchdown in that game against the Chargers that helped the Chiefs win in that opening game on Amazon. So I'm telling you, man, this is just one of those things where this is where coaching comes into play at, man. I mean, you got to know your personnel. You got to know what you have. You got to have coaches in the right position who are actually coaching and not just depend on the player to just show up and utilize their talent. You have to coach the talent out of them and put them in position to do well. And that's what, to Kansas City's credit, they have been able to do. Because again, you look at it. I mean, this is Pacheco's 4th year. Now, I'll be honest. I don't know whether Pacheco sees another contract with Kansas City just because of how the running back shelf life is, but he's got 2 Super Bowl championships and he could go get, generational wealth someplace else. And that's what the Chiefs also do. That's how I don't want to mention Juan Thornhill, but that's how Juan Thornhill got some money from the Browns. Sorry about that, but that's still my dog. So.
You done brought it back, man. We got a couple super chats we want to get to as well. Bob LeBeau, we appreciate your super chat. What are the odds one of the rookies ends up pup in the preseason and the other one starts the season?
Well, you can only be on the pup if you're injured, so I don't think that happens. But it just depends on if they get rid of one of the veterans or not. So,
and look, I expect them to. You see, it's hard to be politically correct about a lot of different things when you just used to just say it. I mean, listen, let me ask you this question: if Shadur Sanders was taken number 2 overall, would people be expecting him to start?
Yes.
Okay. If he was taken in 33. Would they expect him to start?
They would expect he would have a strong chance of starting because you already have Joe Flacco in. Mm-hmm. You would say Joe Flacco could start because he knows Kevin's offense, and then you bring Shadur along. So they would. It's funny because it depends on when you're drafted. That they've 33rd they would say baby him along until he gets, but at 2 you throw him into the fire. Sorry. But at 5th round drafted, because you drafted a quarterback there, now we just make it a quarterback competition.
Now here's the thing. Now did Shadur Sanders fall because of his physical ability?
No,
he fell because of the narrative about his either work ethic, his attitude, whatever the case may be, his preparation for the combine, interviews.
Put his father in his place.
His dad, all that. So if you telling me that multiple down and we didn't do this, so Mel Kiper had him as number 1 on the board. I take that with a grain of salt. Bernie Kosar, he says, listen, I love the way he's able to move in the pocket and not worry about things. I'm excited to see him play. I cannot believe he slid. Drew Bledsoe says, listen, I watched him a lot in Colorado. I watched him. I don't know why he slid. I like him as the best quarterback in the draft. Kurt Warner says so. There's been multiple people who have said these things. If those evaluations are true and he fell to the 5th round, I don't know why it would be a surprise to anyone that he's in a contention to start or to win the job when the season starts, if he still has that talent level. Now he has to prove it, but I don't see where it's just like I don't actually, to be truthful, I don't see Dillon Gabriel or him getting moved anywhere. You can't move him to the practice squad. They will get snatched up. And frankly, I think they're just better than the guys that they got ahead of them. So that'll play out a little bit.
I'm a different with you on this. I don't know if Gabriel's better than Flacco, but that's just me. I just think, but that's just me.
No, here's the reason what I say about Dillon Gabriel. Now here's another thing. I watched Dillon Gabriel a bunch of games. Dillon Gabriel to me was never a third round pick. He didn't stand out. Obviously he's on the Cleveland Browns. He'll get a chance to compete. But I think on skill set, everybody would say that Shadur Sanders has a better skill set than Dillon Gabriel. Now, look, if he's a young player and the Browns drafted him to see something, I'd rather go into the season with two young dudes and figure something out than deal with the old stuff. Because look at it this way. What is the upside if Kenny Pickett wins the starting job? What is the upside to that? What are we like? They already declined his 5th-year option. So even if he does play, and they don't,
you're not going to tag him next year.
They're not going to tag him. They're probably not going to pay him. They can't pay him $100 billion because that's what would happen if he played that well. If he played like Sam Darnold, they would have to pay him $40 million, $40 million a year. You're already paying Watson. We already discussed that. It's not feasible. Flacco's 41, 42. Not feasible. So to me, the worst case scenario is you don't give these young dudes an opportunity to show what they do, and you go back into next year not knowing what you got at quarterback.
Yeah, so by the end of the season, obviously one of these rookie quarterbacks will be the starter. The question is when do they get the opportunity? But again, now I get it with Kenny Pickett because what you're doing is you're stalling your rookies for next year. And again, depending on how bad you are. If you somehow do the mental gymnastics where you think that you need to get another quarterback, again, you're just wasting draft picks. To me, that's what you're doing. So you got 2 quarterbacks on rookie deals. You've got to see what you got with them. Now, again, I don't see anything special in Kenny Pickett. I get why Pittsburgh took him a few years ago because he was a hometown kid and you got a chance to see him play in your stadium. So you saw him week in and week out. So I'm not going to fault them for drafting him, but you saw what he did at the NFL level on your squad that year. There's a reason why you got rid of him, and there's a reason why the players didn't support him. He ended up being a backup to Jalen Hurts, got him a Super Bowl ring, you know what I'm saying? Just chilling. He had a couple games where he got a chance to come in and didn't mess up people's parlays and stuff. That was cool, you know what I'm saying? So, but again, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I'm not leaving my job up to Kenny Pickett. Joe Flacco, maybe, because he did take.
We got some history.
Yeah. So, but by the end of the season, one of these 2 quarterbacks got to be somebody that you feel like you can go into next year. Again, to me, with those 2 first-round draft picks, I don't know if you can package something up to try to do for 2027 to get Jeremiah Smith to add in that mix 2 years from now. Otherwise, you need to surround Gabriel or Shadur with some talent with those 2 first-round draft picks that you're going to get next season. So for me, again, if I were to start the season today, if today was the first game of the year, I would go with Joe Flacco, just not knowing what these players know with the playbook and stuff because of what he's done. Now, if you get me through training camp over these next 2.5 months, then I can sway. But again, I don't want to put the cart before those because while I know he can deal with the pressure, I also want it to be fair. So when people say, well, you just put Shadur there because of his daddy and all this other stuff, no, he beat everybody else fair and square.
Fair and square.
I want to be where he earned it, and it's not given. Again,
I like that.
He's someone that he ain't trying to have it given. He wants to go out there and work for it. And if he proves that he's better than the other 3 quarterbacks, then you gotta ride with him and get whatever capital you can get for Pickett or for Flacco.
All right, let's get another super chat in here. Jeremy Long, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. Shadur knows the basics of the offense like Flacco too. The pairing makes sense based on scheme and familiarity. I think I thought the pairing. I thought they didn't bring Joe Flacco back after they went to the playoffs because they didn't necessarily think it would be a good fit between in the locker room with Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson. And one of the things that they talked about is all right, if you got Deshaun Watson here and Flacco's here, the first time Deshaun throws an interception, they're gonna ask for Flacco. Here's an interesting dynamic. I think if you're breaking it down based on leeway and how much rope they get, if you start, this is human nature. If you start Kenny Pickett, right, he got the shortest rope. I'm gonna tell you, them fans in that stadium, it's gonna be it's tough because they're like, all right, listen, the Pittsburgh thing. There are a certain segment of the population that do hold that against you a bit. A very small percentage, but it is still there. And if Pickett doesn't play well, there's going to be people to say, I want to see Flacco. Joe, I want to see Flacco play. What are we talking about here? If there's a world where Pickett plays bad the first game or two, people are already going to be like, listen, we've seen this story. Let me get these young dudes in here.
G. Bush, I'm telling you, look, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's going to be week one. If depending on just because of the hype and whatever, whoever's named the starting quarterback, if it's not Shadur and that quarterback has 2 interceptions in that first game, people are going to be screaming out, put Shadur in there because they're going to be like, okay, he's either going to put up or we're going to get a chance to shut him up and move on to the next person. Because I'm telling you, man, people will either want to see this kid succeed or fail. There is no in between when it comes to
there is no in between. I've learned enough by doing these blogs, and I'm gonna tell. Listen, I try to tell him. My brethren in the media, they said, "Oh, come on, how bad could the hype be?" We had the Baker hype, we had the Odell hype, we had the Deshaun Watson hype. What you talking about, man? We had the Johnny football hype. I said, listen, let me tell you something. All that is good before, that's cool. If you look at the polls, you look at the polling, that's cool that y'all think that. I said, this dude is coming with people. This dude got a fan base, and they've been watching him. To see you aunties and uncles and grandmas is in the building. I said, the little stuff that y'all do to kind of derail people, that y'all play in them little media games where you throw a little story out there and you think it just starts chipping away at that person's credibility. I said, that won't work here. They don't care nothing about y'all. They don't know who you are. They just got here last week and they came here for 12. You can't, them won't work. Darren, it's not working. It's deep.
Let me tell you a little secret. This is what I noticed when I was in the press box last year for the Cleveland Chiefs game. Let me tell you a little secret when it comes to what happens with Shadur. You got a lot of people in that Cleveland media. I know you got Daniel, the kid from ESPN, or the young man from ESPN.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let me just put it like this: not a lot of people in the Cleveland media that look like me, that cover that team on a day-to-day basis, that has a voice, has a platform where they can keep it a buck. Again, when I say and no slight at Jason or anybody else, that's just the makeup of how it is. Again, they, Mary Kay, all them, they do stuff for clicks, whether and for ratings, whether it makes their job easier, so be it. Lazy journalism, it is what it is. Again, when it comes to Shadur, and we've seen the last couple of years, outside of Flacco coming in, a couple of years ago, that quarterback room looked like you and me, look like me, you and Earl. You know what I'm saying? And the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns have a history of not really doing well when it come to black quarterbacks. It is going to be imperative, and I'm not saying anything about the fan base or anything like that. This just the world we live in, man. It's going to be important that, again, I put the onus on Kevin Stefanski, and I really should do it. When he gets his opportunity, you have to put him in a position to succeed. Because, not to say you're going to take his confidence or anything like that. Again, your team is not expected to do well. You have people in the media who want the team to tank for whatever reason for 20, thinking that for some reason the Archman is going to come. He's not coming to Cleveland. So you need to do well with what you have. whether it's Gabriel, but I'm thinking more so Shadur because I'm just a Shadur guy. But when Shadur gets the opportunity, you have to make sure that he's in a position to succeed. Your play calling has to look like it. The reps that he gets throughout the week, you know what I'm saying, whether you decide to put him in leading to or coming out of the international game in London, week 5, week 6, whatever. You just need to be able to put him in position where he has a chance to succeed. Now, he will rise or fall on his own play, whether he's out there throwing interceptions or touchdowns or whatever. But you put him in a position to succeed, you'll be fine, and allow him to just trust me. I look, I watch show every day. As much as these people have tried to hate on Shadur, the moment he's throwing 1 or 2 touchdowns, what's everybody gonna do after that touchdown? That's what. And trust me when I say Browns. If I know anything about Browns fans cannot wait. If Shadur is everything that they hoping that he is with all the hype, the well-off media and Boogie and everybody else, he get in there, start throwing touchdowns, and folks start doing this.
Hey, and by the way, I didn't told Boogie. I didn't let him know listen, I'm gonna let you know. G. Bush is here for all the smoke. Listen, under no circumstances would a celebration be cut down. Don't you save your 300-word statements, please. He just needs to concentrate. If he wouldn't be throwing his wrist up, he needs to be in the place. Stop. It won't work. When we get to listen, at the end of the day, I told him, be you. Be unapologetically you.
But I will say this though, G. Bush. If and when he does get his chance to start, if he plays well, again, we'll let the play speak for itself, just like Deshaun Watson. But I'm gonna keep you on your toes and make sure you holding the media locally accountable, because it's gonna be people that we've seen on ESPN 92.3 or whatever, or the Fan or whatever, up there that again spread a false narrative when we're seeing things with our own eyes. Because I think it's going to be people that's going to want him to fail. Whether he succeeds or fails, but they want to see him fail for particular reasons. But but the one thing that I've noticed, and you noticed well, Shadur equals clicks and ratings, which is why they can't stop talking about him. And the thing is, he has to get playing time because
it'll turn into a nightmare.
Respectfully, there's nothing exciting about Gabriel or Picket playing, and if they're just doing okay, it's one thing. But
we will get to it, man. Shout out to the Reverend BJ Nelson. We appreciate your super chat. To see you uncles, aunties, cousins. All of them are saying happy Memorial Day to G. Bush and G. Bush in the chat. Hit the like button, man. First of all, foremost, man, listen. Shout out to all those people, all the military, all the armed services, all the people out there, first responders, all those people, service industries that are out here that have given their life for us to be able to be on these platforms and say what we want to say and talk how we want to talk and live our American dream. So we appreciate all of those sacrifices out there. Memorial Day is a big time event. And so I was talking to Darren. I said, man, you got something when you in Kansas City. I believe Memorial Day, 4th of July, the cookout game is crazy out there.
That's a barbecue. That's the gates right there. I'm going to my mom as soon as we get done with this.
Shout out
on the grill.
Man, listen, he gonna ask me. So when he came up, he pulled up on me. He came to the house during the season, man. I said, man, you gotta bring me some of that good stuff. He brought me the joint. He said, man, I know you got some, you cooking out today.
Fam know about it too. They know about it.
Hey, OT, yeah, they do. Hey, they off the clock, fam, know it. He said, hey, you got some of that, you still got some of that rub I gave you? I said, bro, that rub was gone in 24. Not hours, that was gone in 2024. The day you came in December, that thing was gone in 2 weeks. I went out to my smoker. Man, I threw that on some oxtails. I threw that on I had a brisket ready to go. I said, man, he's supposed to be. I thought you was going to get me on the Christmas list. You said you was going to see you auto ship. I need the auto ship like Amazon or QVC.
Man, people, look, man. So normally, well, every time I travel, they always, what's up, see you cousins? They always let me, they always send me out of town with some food, a slab of ribs and fries and baked beans and burn-in mac and cheese and stuff. So no, they the plane just be having that aroma. Folk be bad too. They be trying to like, where it coming from? And they know it's coming from the first class area.
Hey man, listen, it was different. He brought like, look, I'm a foodie. I mean, put it in, if you a foodie, put a 1 in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Listen, hey, when I wanna lay down and just chill out and I don't wanna deal with no sports stuff, I'm always on the Cooking Network. YouTube. Man, listen, shout out to my man Les BBQ, man. Listen, I ordered some ox from Les BBQ. Them oxtail, them candy reds. I'm gonna paint them red. Hey, shout out to him. Listen, y'all got, but listen, Darren came up here, and when they talk about that Kansas City, you got to stand on business. And he came with like 6, 7 sauces. I said, bro, this is just a sauce. He said, yeah, man, he had the dry rub. He had the salt. I mean, he had it all, bro. I wanted to get the whole bottle. He said, I only got 1. And I got to put it on some of my stuff on the way back home. It's a long flight.
Well, no, so okay, so technically, because G with me too, you got to embellish it. So no, I had a couple of rubs. I had the regular rub, and then I had the hot and spicy, which I got in the cabinet over here. So
I like that hot and spicy.
I love hot spicy. So and I like to put on the fries and the ribs and stuff. And then the sauce, I think I had the original and the sweet and mild. And so look, and shout out to Sweet Pork Wilson's too, because normally establishments don't like you using other people's sauce while you're there in their building or whatever. But the guy was like, he wanted to taste it too, and but he knew about Gates as well, so he knew about it. So and we tried this stuff as well. They gave me a bottle and to the OTC film. I made sure everybody had some. They was like, yeah, this is it.
This is it. Don't forget to see you cousins too. Patrick Williams, I thank you so much for the super chat. Mary S. G. Bush, it's just not the aunties. A lot of us have been watching and supporting Dion and Shadur and the family since they were small kids. We're here and we aren't going nowhere. Win, lose, or draw. We appreciate you. I've seen the influx too. You know what I'm saying? The goal is, here's how I always think about it, man. The goal is, you know what I'm saying, wherever you from, when you meet good people, you indoctrinate them into the family. Like, Darren, he covers the Kansas City Chiefs, but we linked up, good people. We've been rocking ever since. So we invite all of the people that have been watching Shadur, all the people that watch Colorado. If you just tuned in on accident and got in here, the goal is to mix it up and you extended family now. So we appreciate you guys coming on in here and supporting, supporting the Cleveland Browns, supporting Shadur, and supporting good content. So we appreciate that as well. Let me throw this out there before we get up out of here, Darren. Give me. I want you to give me the week that you think Shadur Sanders gets an opportunity, and then give me the overall record for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh shit! Well, shoot, that just depends on when he's starting and what type of play calling Stefanski's gonna be doing. Man, if I'm Shadur, well, okay. Now this is assuming he doesn't win the starting position, correct?
Yeah. So this is assuming they started with a veteran. Right? But because, listen, I'm going to tell you, I would prefer it, because if you wanted to know if Shadur was the man, let him play against them first 4 games. Them first four is bulletin board. These is perennial powers that's not going to play with you.
No, but
but assuming you got black.
Yeah, no, and look, I'm not gonna downplay Minnesota, because they were good last year. Now, granted, they don't have the quarterback, and we don't know what he's gonna be. So, if I were to put them in, I guess it would be Minnesota in London. Yeah, I'd put them in either in London or coming back against Pittsburgh. But I would let them start against Minnesota in week number 5.
Week 5.
Again, that just depends on how the first 4 games go, depending on injury and all that other stuff and how they play. Yeah, but eventually he's got to get in there. Yeah, because again, you look at it: Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. Those are some winnable games, especially in Pittsburgh, unless Aaron Rodgers is showing up or whatever. Miami could be had at home. And then New England, I mean, I don't know if New England makes that particular, that much of a jump. And then you got that bye week before you take on the Jets. I don't, he's got to play well before week 10, because you got to see what you got if he's your guy.
Art Jizzle, I see you, Reverend Johnson. We in here, Art Jizzle again. My bad, Reverend Johnson, not Johnson. Forgive me. I appreciate all your super chats. And here's what we got to do, man. Since we got some new people, we got some new individuals in the building or in the barbershop. We always got to give out where we represent. Where you calling from? We worldwide in the barbershop. We do it big from coast to coast, man. We got people in Iceland watching, Australia, UK. We got people in South America. So I'm gonna start it off. Darren, no, you started off. Where you what area code you represent? Where you representing right now?
816, man. What's that? I'm KC. I know we got a 913. No disrespect to them, but I can't sit in Missouri all day, every day, 24/7. And twice on Sundays.
Hey, man, we got to do it. 330 in the building. Canton, Akron, Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. We got the 216. We got the 440. We got the 234 in the building. We didn't forget you. We didn't forget you. Keep telling them about us. They don't want the smoke. I think Mary Kay knows not to. Hey, man. Hey, so give me a roll call. Where you calling from? Where you watching at? And we're going to shout you out, man. We going to do it up. We like to do that before we get up out of here. You know what it is. Ohio's in the building. Let me see what we got. Where y'all calling from? Let me see. We're going to get it done.
Hey, Jeebus, while you doing that, just answer your other question. Depending on when he plays, or just your record in general, I think the Browns could go 5-12.
You think you could go 5-12?
Yeah, irregardless of who the starter is. But if this whole two-time coach of Kevin Stefanski is worth his weight in salt, then he should be able to coach them to some wins that you probably don't expect them to. So.
Hey, we ready to go, man. Here we go. Roll call. Mel, 216 is in the building, man. 615 is in the building. 317-505-512. Jacksonville, Florida. I see you. 614. We doing it. Canton, Ohio. Yes, sir. 813-912. Representing Akron, Ohio. 440. I see you, man. Leaving from Cali, boys. 714. Browntown, I see you. 419. Dallas, Texas in the place. Columbus, Ohio. Could be Columbus, Georgia, though, too. He's in the building. 105. Texas is in here. 916-914. Tampa, 505. Virginia, VA in the building. Michigan, Dubai in the crib. Your Wi-Fi is crazy. Whoever's in, your Wi-Fi is popping right now. 1513. We in here, Sarasota, Florida, man. We doing it big, man. Flint, Michigan, the Flintstones up there. ATL 513-317. The LA in here, Fort Myers, Chicago. We doing it up. 212 NYC, Columbus, Ohio. Let's see. Here we go. Fort Myers, 216-706, Indianapolis, New York, Chicago, Orange County. Make it be known, Jose. 803-912-31. Brook Park in the building. New York in the building. I'm telling you, there ain't nobody getting it like this. Ain't nobody. We worldwide. 216 in the building. 903-307. Wyoming. We out there. West Virginia. I see you, Sarasota. Live from Treadmill OTC 216. Hey, Off the Clock Boys is in here. 239. Jamaica, Chicago in the building. Baltimore, Tampa, Sin City, Dallas, DC. Seattle 206-740-314. They keeping it coming. 216. Lawrence, I see you out here, bro. Y'all gonna make me run out of breath, but not so fast. 337-330, and of course 330. With that being said, we appreciate you, Darren. Any last words you want to get in before we get up out of here?
Man, I just wish there was a chance for me to come back up to Cleveland for a game, but unless y'all coming down here for AFC Championship invitation.
That would be crazy. Shadur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns pull a Jaden Daniels, and guess what we do? We gotta go to Kansas City, Arrowhead. That means
I'm gonna make this one prediction.
All right.
When he becomes a starter, I predict that they will get flexed into a primetime game.
Oh, they're gonna get a couple of those. I think they will. I ain't
going that far. I'm just gonna say
I think they will. They're going to get a couple of them. I don't think they will. With that being said, you never know what G Bush is going to show up, and you never know what kind of guests I'm going to have. Man, if you appreciate Darren, put it in the comment section. Make sure you hit that like button and share this podcast, share this information, share this content. With that being said, we know what it is, a barbershop. Barbershop is about sports, music, and culture, and you're the best part of it. And we'll make sure we'll be back same place, same time, make sure you listen for the Clippers. Peace.
Quality, service, atmosphere. You're next in the chair. Feel at home in the barbershop. G. Bush offers a fresh cut on sports. The barbershop isn't just grooming for guys. It's culture, it's lifestyle, it's sports. And it's now the barbershop is giving the sports scene a sheer shave and shine. Join the makeover now. Follow Garrett Bush at GBush91 on Twitter.